Hi, I'm Nicholas Wallwork, global author of Investing in International Real Estate for Dummies and also the CEO of Redbrick Property Development Company. Today is an exciting day because I've got Lucy Barrett from Vantage Finance back on site with me. And we've been talking.
To be back.
Lovely to have you. We are talking today about development finance. That's what I wanted to go through. We've got another client, a client that I'm mentoring at the moment that's buying a site like this, that's on the edge of a business park. And you know, we've had to talk through the risks of that when buying them, and it's quite a poignant point that some lenders are known to not like business park locations. Yeah. But there's more detail to it than that, isn't there? Tell me.
So I suppose when one of these comes to us, the first thing I ask is where in the business park. So like you mentioned, the edge is always helpful. I think if you are bang in the middle of it and everything is offices around it, it makes it that little bit trickier because it's not just the development finance, but the development funder needs to be confident that the resale mortgage market is there as well. Because if the resale mortgage market isn't there, their exit isn't there. So it's almost a two-step.
It's exit-led.
Exactly. It's very much exit-led, yeah. So the location in the business park, the aesthetics of the building, which to a certain degree you can work on. I mean, not every business park property is the most attractive. Sometimes they're
like
built.
This one, which we're wrapping.
I didn't want to say, but it's going to be very attractive. And it's having that vision and being able to articulate how you are going to improve it. Because I think if you just bring something that looks like an office, lenders are a little bit nervous, so you need to be right at the beginning. You need to have a plan for how you're going to make that look better. So that's number one. But you do get some really attractive office buildings that are brick built and actually could well be residential, nice windows, big windows. So that always helps. So we look at the location in the business park, the aesthetics, but also if there's any other residential around.
Yeah, it's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah, you do get some business parks where it is purely commercial and there is no residential for a good few roads, and that's a little bit less appealing to lenders. They like to see other residential opposite, next to, or at least a road away. So there's
kind of get a little community feel. So you're not just sort of feeling like you're in an office, and at night the office park, everyone goes home.
Everyone goes home,
and it's a very quiet, difficult area to live. You're probably not an attractive place to live necessarily.
You have to think, if you put yourself in a buyer's shoes, so I'm coming to look at this, is this somewhere I would want to live, or do I feel a bit...
I think people want neighbours to some degree. They want to feel a community or a vibe. And
exactly. And it helps if there's a shop or something. And here, actually, there's the garden centre, and I know they're building some shops over there.
A whole load of community area over there, which is fantastic.
Really helps. Yeah. Whereas if you are just out on a limb in a business park, it makes it a bit trickier. Doesn't mean that it can't be done, but they're some of the early things to look at.
What happens if you're the first person to do it on the edge of a business park?
It's harder, actually. It is harder. But I think if you can tick the boxes in terms of there is other residential in the surrounding area and you are on the edge and the buildings are reasonably attractive, then you tick enough boxes to make it appeal to a lender. But if you can't tick any of the boxes, we often say to people it's a really big risk you buying this, because I don't think that people will be able to mortgage it at the end, which means you probably won't be able to sell them at the end.
So that does limit you. Sorry to interrupt, but just before we move on, that would then... There is an exit for that, though, isn't there? It's a build-to-rent exit.
Refi, yeah. So you could refinance that at the end. But we have actually come across a couple that have been round the whole market several times where no lender will even lend on it as a refinance.
Really?
Because they feel that...
Even though it's let out?
Yeah, because they feel that the demand isn't... Well, if it's all let out and you've actually let it out prior to refinancing it, that helps, because it shows that there is the demand there. You've proved it. But some people need to refinance it before they've got it let out because their development finance is coming to an end.
Or their bridge or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. But in some cases, the lenders just simply don't like it because they worry that although it's rented out, if they ever needed to sell it, it would take too long to sell. It's considered a bit more of an illiquid property. And lenders don't like anything that's illiquid, because if they ever take possession, they need to be confident that they can actually sell it in a repossession scenario. So it's not a slam dunk if you're going to rent it out that you'll refinance it, but it does take away that risk of not being able to individually mortgage them.
Yeah, okay. So in summary, we're talking about good amenities, good residential close to the site. We're talking about the look and feel of the building. You can make that look and feel more residential. It's got some conversion capability. The demand for end sales, I think, is critical. I mean, we talked about that on this other site this morning, that get local agents' views. That's really important. Go and get 2 or 3 local agents' views on the valuation of the end units. Check they think it's saleable, because if it's not saleable, there's no exit. You've got to provide the argument to the bank, haven't you? You've got to have supporting evidence.
Yeah, and some of it doesn't really just apply to PD, but it's worth mentioning anyway, but the mix of units. So if you're in an area whereby people typically want bigger units and
maybe it's more
flat
families
shares and families
okay.
and things, and you're only building 1 beds and you're building 50 or 61 beds, the bank's going to look at it and say, how are you going to sell all those 1 beds? There's not a demand for that. But that isn't unique to PD. That would be if you were doing a ground up development anyway.
We wouldn't get planning for all 1 beds is likely.
The
likelihood is
that would be the first filter anyway. But banks like to see a nice mix of units, unless there is a really strong demand for that type of unit in the area. So that's another consideration. Size, but that's really being dealt with by minimum space standards anyway now. So size of units is
frustratingly
less of an issue for the bank, because you have to do it for the planning anyway.
I mean, minimum space standards need to have come in. My bugbear needed to have come in so that people don't build 10 square metre studios and really destroy that market and build poor quality accommodation. But on the flip side, 37 square metres I find is silly. We were building 20 to 25 square metre micro studios, and those were working brilliantly for someone that wanted something better than an HMO but didn't want a 40 square metre 1 bed or 37 square metre 1 bed. So they've taken out that middle bit of the market, which I find was the bit that was needed, that was the affordable element of renting. So
you would only produce a quality unit, even if it's
absolutely.
smaller. But unfortunately, the reason they bring these standards in is there
people
are
are taking advantage of it at the lower end.
And there's no way for them to police them bit by bit. So they've just brought in a blanket policy, which obviously for those doing it properly is a real shame. But it does stamp out the kind of rogue landlords, if you like, that are happy.
They should have just brought in 25 square metres.
Yeah, no, it's.
Do you know what I mean? I had some thought about
jump.
it. They've just gone,
jump.
go to 37. Silly. Anyway, I whinge on about it wherever I can, don't I?
Your favourite topic now.
How have we come
onto that again?
How have we come onto that? Come onto that all the time, because it's really annoying. I think it rules out the viability of lots of small to medium-sized office conversions, though.
Yeah, it does. Well, some of them don't lend themselves well to bigger units. This is a great one because it really does.
It does,
There are some which are older buildings, brick-built buildings where it's harder to move all the partitions. They might have pillars or whatever else, and the layout
and then you can't do it. That's a really good point. Yeah, absolutely. So the layout doesn't work, and the small ones, the viability, the cost of building, which is fairly high at the moment with the material issues we've got going on in the current market. Combine those factors, and it rules out a lot of buildings. Unfortunately, I've seen buildings have been offered this week, around the sort of 700 to £1 million level, 4,000 or 5,000 square foot, and they just don't work. Because you can't get micro studios in them, and you only get 6 flats. The cost of building it, it's like equals the value or less. So anyway, my bugbear. PD lending is possible. Still possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually, I would go as far as to say, because it's been around a lot longer, this office to residential conversion, I would say it's actually got easier. I think at the beginning, lenders were really nervous that these buildings wouldn't be mortgageable at the end, even when we tick the boxes like we talked about at the beginning. Whereas now I think the footprint is there, and a lot of them have worked. And also they do, in the scheme of things, it's more affordable housing in many cases than brand new builds. And we do need new housing. We need more affordable housing, and it's the government have got huge targets, as they have always done. So it's I think there is a bit more acceptance that actually this is a good way of doing it, and therefore the banks have got a bit more comfortable over time. But you do still have to make sure that you're really considering the location and the appearance and things like that.
And the amenities and the residential close and all the rest of it. Okay, really, really helpful. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No
Good
problem.
to talk through. So, PD lending very much still on the table, possibly easier than ever, but the lenders are more savvy to it. They understand the details. They understand what to look for. Things we've covered today are the things to look out for if you're looking for a PD site that's on the edge of an office park or industrial park or in a slightly contentious location. don't rule it out. Do your research, speak to local agents, check the demand, check the saleability of those. If you feel there's a market for it, there's enough residential in the near vicinity, all of the above factors, then go and make an offer. Make a cheeky offer that other people might not have gone out to seek because they probably ruled it out because they thought it was on the edge of a business park or whatever. So some really valuable tips from Lucy there at Vantage Finance. If you'd like a quote for your finance, please do reach out using the links below. We'll get you in touch with Lucy and her team, get you a quote for your mortgage, buy-to-let, development finance, bridge finance, you name it. These guys are the best in the market, they do it, and we use them for all our deals. So that's why we're doing so brilliantly, because we've got Lucy on the team, part of the power team. If you would like some help with your mentoring, please reach out, also in the links below. We're also doing JVs with certain clients, people that have got some good amount of capital, don't have the experience to do certain sites and commercial resi sites. We'd love to partner up with you and do some deals together. So we'll look forward to seeing you on another video very soon. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon and follow us for future videos. Take care, bye-bye.